Okay, so we are done with the user interface. We can now switch to source code. And because it is table view, we need to make it conform to a few protocols for it to work. So first of them will be UI table view data source. So once I have my view controller conforming to this protocol, I will hold command button on my keyboard and then click on UI table view data source. And that will open a list of functions in this protocol that I can implement for it to work. So I will pick this to table view cell for row index path and number of sections in the table view. Okay, so I'll take this to, no, I actually need this number of rows as well. So I'll pick the number of rows and cell for row and index path, these two. Okay, and I'll go back to my source code, paste it here, and then I'll remove extra parts that I don't need. Add implementation of this function, and I don't need this, like this. Okay, so this one, the first one should return the number of rows in section, so that will be returning an integer. At this moment we will return 0, like this, and this one will return a cell. So at this moment we will let's create a cell. Let my cell equals table view DQ cell, reusable cell with identifier for index path. I'll take this one, and I will come up with an identifier. Let's choose the first one, DateCell, and the index path. Okay, so this identifier, if you wonder where it comes from, it comes from here. So we've created for each cell, we have assigned an identifier. So the first one is DateCell. I'm adding this, I will be changing these values a bit later, but for now let it be here. So my cell, and then I need to return this my cell. This one is ready. The next protocol that we will need to conform to is called UI table view delegate. And just like with the UI table view data source, I'll hold command button on my keyboard, click on table view delegate, and look for a function that is called DateSelect. I actually will search for it. Table view DateSelect row index path. Yeah, I will pick this one, and I will copy it below here. So this one will be called when user taps on the table view. Okay, and yes, before this tool will work, we will actually need to set the data source and delegate, and I'll do it first in user interface. I'll click on the table view, hold control button on my keyboard, click, drag, and drop the pointer, this blue pointer, to view controller. And then I'll select for the outlets, I'll select data source, click away, click on it again, hold control button, click, drag, and drop it here, and I see the data source is connected, and I'll connect delegate. So now if I do it again, I should see the both data source and delegate connected. Okay, now I can start my application to see if everything is okay. And here we go, it started. I don't see any data loaded because I don't have anything in my source code to make it load. And if I look at the console, at the output, everything is clear. So no errors, which is good. Okay, so now I can go to my open source project, the DateCell, and I have already downloaded it. And I have it opened in my Xcode project. So I will start copying the source code that makes this Inline UIDatePicker work. And I will begin with the declarations, the objects and variables that we have. So I'll paste it right under the class declaration, so that those are the picker animation duration, the title, and the date for obtaining the data source. And the start and the end row, those are the values that specify which cells in the table view contain DatePicker. So the first cell and the second cell. I will show you how to edit those values when we come to the point of modifying this table view. Okay, and the 3 cell IDs that we have specified. So the first cell has ID of DateCell, and the second is DatePicker cell and the other cell. And we declare data array here. This data array will hold the items that we're going to load into table view, the date formatter to make dates appear nice. The DatePicker index is the one that will is for us to keep track which index path is pointing to the cell with the UIDatePicker, and the height of this cell that is holding DatePicker. So currently it's 216. Okay, and I think we will come back to these declarations as we go in. So the next piece of code that I'm going to move from that project is for the function viewDateLoad, and I will copy it and paste it here. Okay, and that one will create 3 items that we are going to load. Let me a little bit expand it like this. So those are the items that we are going to load into table view. So we are populating our data array with the items, item 1, item 2, item 3, and if you want, you can add more items. Again, I'll show you how to edit those items later in the video when everything is done and working. I'll show you how to customize this. And we specify the date format, so that's going to be short style. I'll also show you how to use a different style, like we could, for example, for the date, let's choose, for example, medium style, which will print November 23, like it will have 3 letters for the months, like this. Okay, and here's the notification observer that we create, and this one is, as it says in the description, for the locale. I think here's a typo. If the locale changes while in the background, we need to be notified when we can update the date. And let's correct this right away. So I'll look for this locale change function and move that function into my project right away. So here it is. So I'll paste it. Here's the locale function, responds to region format or locale changes. Okay, so now within this function, we're trying to refer to table view and reload its items, but we do not have table view in our declarations here. So let's create an outlet for the table view. I will go back to my interface design and then select the table, hold Control button, click, drag, and drop it here right above the viewDateLoad, and I will call it my table view. Okay, so we have an outlet for that is pointing to our table view, and we can scroll down a little bit, and now instead of the table view, I will use my table view. Okay, now this error is gone. So we have the local locale change function is part of DateCell table view controller, but in our case it's called view controller. So I'll copy view controller, the name of the view controller, and paste it here. So that should be the name of your class here, Swift class. So I paste it here, and now the error is also gone. Okay, so let's proceed and probably move code for this functions like number of rows in section. So I will go to that project again, look for number of rows in section and copy the content of this function here. So, and it should complain, yes, because we don't have has inline date picker. So this function checks if we have the inline date picker. So I will look for that function and I will copy, I'll paste it below here. So this function determines if the table view controller has the date picker in any of the cells. So if that date picker index path is not nil and the date picker index path is declared here as a variable. Okay, so let's move on to the next function, and that will be cell for row index path. So I will copy the content of that function, and then cell for row index path. I will replace everything that I have with the content from the project. And here we're basically declaring the cell, and we assign cell ID to the first one, which is other cell ID. Here we go. And let's correct these errors, like this function. We don't have it yet in our project, so let's move that one quickly. I will paste it also somewhere below, and that error will go. Index path has a picker. Now index path has a date. I'll copy next function. Okay, index path has a date. That one is here, so no errors. Okay, no errors. Okay, so now we will move on, and we have another function which is DateSelect row index path. So I'll copy the name of this function, go to that open source project, and then copy the content of DateSelect row index path and paste it here. And if I save it, it complains because we don't have function display inline date picker for row index path. So I'll copy that function as well. Okay, and I'll copy and paste it here below. So this function reveals the date picker in line for the given index path, and it tries to begin updates for the table view. And we have, instead of my table view, we use my table view. So we are beginning updates, and because there will be a few ones, we will begin updates, and somewhere below here we will end those updates. Okay, I will copy my table view, and basically we will begin and end updates so that when we insert or delete rows from the table view, we don't have the functions that, for example, a cell for row index path or number of rows in section do not get triggered until the end updates is called. Okay, so let's replace table view with the my table view to get rid of those errors. Okay, and now we have this function missing, so I will copy that function, and again I'll paste it below here and replace table view with my table view, and this one also begin updates and end updates. Okay, and the next function is update date picker. I will also paste it here, and this one also has a reference to table view, so I will replace it with my table view. And I think one of the last functions has picker for index path. Okay, has picker for index path, and it has a reference to table view. Okay, so let's save it. see if the errors are gone. I think everything is okay. So let's try running this example and see if it works, if we get any errors. I'll stop it and run it. Okay, here we go. So we have table view, the start date picker. I can tap on it and it opens up, but the size is too small. So that's one of the issues. What about another one? I can click to reveal, and the other ones don't have date picker. Okay, so let's try figure out how to fix the size of these cells. So first of all, we will look for the function that is returning the height for this cell, and that function has to be under the data source. And I will look for the function that's called height for a row at index path. Yes, this is the one. So I'll copy this function here into my code somewhere next to the functions that have to do with the data source here. So that's going to be a function, height for row at index path, and I will copy implementation for this function from the open source project, the DateCell, because I think we have missed it. And yes, here it is. So that function returns the height for the cell that contains the picker. So it returns, it calls the function index path has a picker for this index path, and if yes, it will return the height for that cell, which is 216. So let's run this example and see if it helped us to fix the problem. Okay, our application is up. So let me click on the date picker and let me try changing its values and tap on it. Okay, I see that the value change in date picker doesn't reflect on the cell. So let's fix that. And the way we fix it, I will stop this application and I will scroll all the way down here. I'll need to create an action outlet for this date picker. So I will give it a little more space and then open the document outline here, and we'll select the date picker, hold Control button on my keyboard, click, drag, and paste here. So that connection type will be action, and I will call it date action. For the sender, we will be type date picker, value change. Okay, we'll create connect. And so now when user changes the value in the date picker, this date action function will be triggered. And let me copy implementation for that function from the date class. Here it is. Let's save it and see. Yes, here is the reference to my table view. So I'll copy that. And here is another reference to my table view. Okay. So the function is here. Let's try running our example and see if it helped. Okay, our application is here. I will tap on the date picker, change the value, and I see it is reflecting in the date and time cell, in the details of that cell. I change AM, close it, open another one, change the value, close it, open another one, and everything is okay. So this is it for the date picker implementation, and we can now go ahead and add implementation for the done button. So I'll stop this example, give it a little space here, hide the document outline, and I will select the done button, scroll to the bottom of my code, select the button, hold Control button on my keyboard, drag and drop it here. So connection type will be action, and I will give it a name, done button tapped connect. Okay, so when user taps on the done button, this function will be called, and I will copy the implementation for this function and we'll walk you through a little bit. So basically what is happening here, we will reference this cell which holds the date picker, and we know that date picker is created for this cell number 1 and 2. So we will create an index path for row 1 and section 0, and then use that index path to read this cell from the table view. And once we have the cell, we can access it text, and the detailed text, which is holding date and time. And then we will print to preview the title of the cell and the date and time, which were picked from the date picker. And then we can create a date formatter with a different date format, for example, that we need. We will set the local time zone, and then we can use that date formatter to create a date object from the date string that we picked up from the cell. And once we have that date object, we can use it for many different purposes. And here I will print it out simply to preview its value. But we can then pass it to other functions and get the milliseconds and seconds from that date object and store it in a database and so on. So let me run this example and see how it works now. Okay, so I have application running. I will choose today's September 6, 10/22, and then I will hit done. And here I have the first line, which prints this value, the text label of the cell, and the date string, which is specified here, September 2016. And below I have the same values, but formatted to a different format, which is still September 6, 2016, 10:22 p.m. Okay, so it works. And if we wanted to read the value from the cell, from the date picker from the second cell, we would create a targeted cell index path with the row value 2. This is how we will access the second date picker.